The autumn air in Willow Creek, Oregon, carried the scent of pine and damp earth as I stood on the creaking porch of my childhood home in 2023. My phone vibrated with an email from Mom, its subject line cutting through the nostalgia. Family reunion. Urgent. Her message was a masterclass in passive aggression, each word polished to a sheen of concern. We need to discuss your future. Lauren. Saturday, 6 p.m. Dinner at the house. No excuses. My future was their polite way of saying I derailed my life by quitting a high-flying marketing job at a Portland ad agency to start Horizon Analytics. 3 years of their furrowed brows, voicemails about benefits packages, and unsubtle digs about how I'd walked away from Ethan, the lawyer they'd practically crowned my soulmate, had worn thin. I glanced at my Honda Civic, its faded blue paint a stark contrast to the gleaming Tesla and Lexus in the driveway. The scene screamed my family's verdict. I was the odd one out, the dreamer who'd traded stability for a tech fantasy. My phone pinged again. Tara, my COO, texted. Wired article drops at 7 p.m. PST. You sure about this? I typed back. Perfect timing. Families staging their intervention at 6. Her reply was instant. Iconic. I tugged at my thrift store sweater. Its loose threads, a deliberate choice. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. Let them think I was one step from broke. The truth would hit like a freight train. Stepping toward the door, I felt the weight of this house, its wood-paneled walls etched with memories of science fairs and late-night coding sessions they dismissed as hobbies. Back then, I'd been the kid with big ideas, the one who'd rather debug code than cheer at Nate's football games. Now, they saw me as a cautionary tale, the daughter who'd thrown away a corner office for a pipe dream. But I wasn't here to argue. I was here to let them underestimate me one last time before the world rewrote their narrative. The porch light flickered, casting shadows across the gravel path. I could hear Mom's voice inside, directing someone to set the table, her tone as commanding as ever. This wasn't just a dinner, it was a tribunal, and I was the defendant. My fingers brushed the phone in my pocket, the Wired article waiting like a hidden ace. For 3 years, I'd built Horizon in the shadows, dodging their pity and their lectures. Tonight, they'd learn what I'd been hiding, not out of shame, but because silence had been my greatest weapon. As I reached for the doorknob, a breeze rustled the maple trees, and I paused, remembering the girl who'd once sat under those branches, sketching algorithms in a notebook. That girl had become a woman who'd turned those sketches into a $8 billion empire. I straightened my sweater, a small smile tugging at my lips. Let them see the failure they expected. In an hour, they'd see the truth and it would shake their world to its core. The dining room smelled of roast chicken and tension, the table groaning under Mom's spread of mashed potatoes, green beans, and her signature pecan pie. The chandelier cast a warm glow, but the mood was cold, calculated, like a boardroom before a hostile takeover. I slid into a chair, the worn cushion creaking under me, and faced the jury. Dad flipping through a golf magazine at the head, Nate and Claire whispering on one side, Aunt Judy sipping wine with a hawk-like stare, and Uncle Ray, the wild card, slouched in his seat, his presence an unexpected curveball. Mom bustled in, setting down a pitcher of iced tea, her pearl necklace glinting like armor. Dad set his magazine aside, his voice low but firm. Lauren, we're here because you've been lost since you left Portland. The word lost landed like a gavel, and I raised an eyebrow. I run a company. Dad, hardly lost. Claire, her diamond ring flashing, leaned forward with rehearsed sympathy. A startup. Sure. But Nate says tech's a bloodbath. Most don't survive a year. Her pity was almost convincing. But I knew Nate's own fintech flop had burned through his trust fund, partly because my firm had passed on bailing him out. Mom passed the potatoes, her smile tight. You're living in that tiny studio, driving that car. We just want to help you find your way back. I spooned a small portion, keeping my tone even. Back to what? 60-hour weeks pushing toothpaste ads. Dad's eyes narrowed. To stability. You had a 401k. A future. Ethan. The ghost they kept resurrecting. The man who'd called my startup a phase before I ended things. Uncle Ray. Silent until now, coughed and leaned forward, his voice rough. Heard you're messing with AI. That's a fad. Kid? My buddy sank millions into some chatbot scam. I met his gaze, unfazed. AI's not one size fits all. Ray, some of us aren't gambling. He snorted, unconvinced. And Aunt Judy jumped in, her wine glass poised. My friend's son just made partner at a Seattle law firm, youngest ever. That could have been you. Lauren, if you'd stayed focused. I checked my watch. 6:40 p. 20 minutes until wired. Their assumptions hung heavy, each word a brick in the wall they'd built around me. You don't even know what my company does, I said, voice calm but sharp. Maybe ask before you try to fix me. Mom sighed, setting down her fork. We're trying to save you from a failing business. Sweetheart, it's time to face facts. The room felt smaller, their judgment pressing in. But I wasn't the one trapped. I took a sip of tea, letting their words wash over me, knowing the clock was ticking. In minutes, their carefully crafted image of me wayward, reckless, would shatter, and I'd be the one holding the pieces. The dining room conversation churned like a storm gathering strength. Mom's pecan pie sat untouched, the sweetness at odds with the bitterness in her voice. You've been so secretive. Lauren, she said, slicing through the silence. All those late nights, that cramped apartment, what are you even working toward? Her words weren't a question, they were an accusation, laced with the same disappointment I'd heard since I left Portland. I leaned back, the wooden chair creaking, and let her assumption hang. Dad folded his arms, his old CEO instincts kicking in. You're dodging reality. A startup's fine for some, but you're burning through savings. Driving that Honda. His pause made the car sound like a personal failing. I smiled faintly, picturing the Civic parked outside, a practical choice that let me funnel millions into Horizon's R&D. It gets me where I need to go, I said, deliberately vague. Nate, emboldened by Claire's nod, jumped in. The tech market's a meat grinder. I've seen it firsthand. His voice carried the smugness of someone who'd forgotten his own startup's spectacular crash. I resisted the urge to mention the sloppy pitch he'd sent to my investment firm, the one I'd rejected for its laughable projections. Instead, I said, not every company's doomed. Nate. Some of us plan better. Uncle Ray, swirling his beer, chuckled darkly. Plan? AI's a bubble waiting to pop. You're betting on fairy dust. His skepticism was predictable, but it stung. A reminder of how little they'd ever understood my work. Aunt Judy, never one to miss a jab, added, you could have been settled by now. Lauren, a real career, a family. Ethan was perfect. Ethan again, the golden boy they'd pinned their hopes on. Never mind that he'd scoffed at my ambitions. I glanced at my watch. 6:50 p. 10 minutes until the Wired article dropped. Their voices blended into a familiar chorus pity. Judgment. Certainty that I'd failed. But I wasn't here to defend myself. I was here to let their misconceptions build. Each one a domino ready to fall. You're so sure I'm failing, I said. my tone deceptively soft. But you haven't asked what Horizon does. Not once. Mom's lips pursed. We know enough. You're working yourself to death for nothing. Her words were meant to wound, but they only sharpened my resolve. I took a bite of chicken, chewing slowly, letting the seconds tick by. Claire, sensing weakness, leaned forward. There's no shame in admitting it's not working. Nate's firm would hire you in a heartbeat. The irony was rich. Nate's firm was a consulting gig he'd landed after his startup tanked. The air grew heavier, their expectations pressing down like a physical weight. But I felt light, untethered, knowing what was coming. The truth was a weapon I'd honed in silence, and in minutes, it would cut through their doubts with surgical precision. I set down my fork, ready for the storm to break. The dining room went quiet, the clink of silverware fading as Nate's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, his smug expression cracking. What the hell is this? He tilted the screen toward Claire, who gasped, her manicured hand flying to her mouth. Lauren's on Wired's innovators list. The words landed like a thunderclap, and the room froze. Mom's fork hit her plate with a sharp clatter. Dad's magazine slipped from his hands. Aunt Judy's wineglass hovered mid-air, her eyes wide. Claire snatched the phone, scrolling with frantic taps. Lauren Carter, 29, founder and CEO of Horizon Analytics, valued at $2.5 billion. This has to be a typo. Her voice trembled, caught between disbelief and dread. I leaned back, calm as a still lake. $2.5 billion was last quarter. We hit $3.8 billion after our latest funding round. The number hung in the air, heavy and undeniable, rewriting the room's reality. Dad's jaw slackened. 3.8 billion. His voice was a whisper, as if saying it louder might break something. I pulled out my tablet, opening Horizon's investor deck with a few swipes. Horizon Analytics builds AI-driven predictive models for supply chain optimization. We forecast disruptions, weather, strikes, geopolitical shifts saving companies millions. That cramped studio, it's a loft in a building I co-own. The Honda. I keep it because it's practical. Like every decision I make, Mom's hands shook, her iced tea sloshing. You never told us. Lauren. Not a word. Her accusation was softer now, tinged with hurt. I met her gaze, unflinching. You never asked. You were too busy writing my failure story to notice I was building an empire. I stood, smoothing my thrift store sweater, its worn fabric a silent jab at their assumptions. In 5 minutes, Wired's dropping a feature on how a small-town girl built a tech giant while her family thought she was crashing. The room stayed silent, their faces a gallery of shock and shattered certainty. Uncle Ray muttered, "No way." Under his breath, his beer forgotten, Nate's fingers tightened around his phone. His earlier confidence gone, Claire's eyes darted to Nate, as if he could explain this away. Aunt Judy, for once, had no quip, her wineglass now trembling slightly. Dad just stared, his CEO facade crumbling. I let the moment stretch, savoring their disbelief. Oh, and there's more, I added, voice steady. We just signed a Department of Defense contract, our tech's predicting geopolitical risks. That's why I've been secretive. National security isn't exactly dinner table talk. The revelation landed like a second blow, and Mom's gasp was audible. I checked my watch. 7. So 2 p.m. The article was live. Their world was about to change, and I was the one holding the match that lit the fuse. The dining room was a battlefield of silence, the Wired article's impact rippling through the air. Nate's phone buzzed relentlessly. notifications piling up as the story went viral. Claire's face was pale, her earlier pity replaced by a mix of envy and shock. Aunt Judy fumbled with her own phone, no doubt texting her book club to spin a tale of how she'd always known I'd succeed. Uncle Ray stared at his beer, muttering about dumb luck under his breath. Dad's hands rested on the table, motionless, his eyes fixed on some distant point as if recalculating his entire view of me. 3.8 billion, he said again, the words barely audible, like a man grasping at a lifeline. I leaned forward, my tablet still open to Horizon's deck. Want the real kicker? Our tech's not just saving companies money, it's saving lives. Hospitals use our models to predict supply shortages, disaster relief teams to prepare for floods. That's why I've been working late. Mom, not because I'm failing, but because the world needs what I've built. Mom's eyes welled up, her voice breaking. Why didn't you trust us with this? The question stung, but I held my ground. Trust. You spent 3 years telling me to quit, to go back to Ethan, to be someone I'm not. You didn't want my truth. You wanted your version of me. The words landed hard, and she looked away, clutching her napkin. Nate finally spoke, his voice tight. You're saying you've been sitting on $1 billion company while we, what? Worried for nothing. His indignation was almost laughable, given his own failed ventures. I smiled, sharp and deliberate. Worried. You were planning my rescue. Nate. But let's talk about your startup pitch last spring, the one Carter Ventures rejected. Sloppy numbers. No vision. That's my firm. By the way, his face reddened, and Claire's hand shot to his arm, as if to steady him. You own Carter Ventures, he stammered. I nodded, letting the truth sink in. I've been funding startups for years, just not yours. The room felt smaller, their assumptions collapsing under the weight of reality. I grabbed my bag, standing. My ride's here. Got a Bloomberg interview tomorrow. They're calling me the stealth CEO. Oh, and Nate, work on your pitch. You'll need it. Outside, a black SUV idled, its sleek lines a far cry from my Civic. As I slid inside, my phone lit up with texts. Mom begging me to call, Nate demanding answers, Claire's fake congratulations. I ignored them, focusing on Tara's message. Stocks up rose after the article. Singapore's eating it up. The SUV pulled away, Willow Creek's quiet streets fading behind me. I'd spent years in the shadows, letting their doubts fuel me. Now, the world knew my name, and my family was scrambling to catch up. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. Served cold and quiet, just the way I'd planned. The Portland headquarters of Horizon Analytics hummed with quiet efficiency, its low-profile exterior a repurposed warehouse hiding the cutting-edge tech within. I walked through the glass doors the next morning. The receptionist's mourning. Ms. Carter, a small anchor in the chaos of the previous night. My assistant, Priya, met me with a coffee and a wry smile. Your family's been lighting up the switchboard since dawn. Your mom tried to drop off a casserole, but security sent her packing. I laughed, picturing Mom's indignation. Any other chaos. Priya's eyes glinted. Nate posted a LinkedIn thread calling you his inspiration. PR's asking if we respond. Let him chase clout, I said. No reply. My office was a sanctuary of clean lines and frosted glass. A single whiteboard scrawled with supply chain algorithms dominating one wall. News screens flickered with headlines. Horizon Analytics redefines AI. Innovation and stealth, CEO shakes up tech. I was prepping for a venture capital call when a knock interrupted. Expecting Priya, I turned to see Ethan, my ex, in a tailored suit, his smile as slick as ever. "Lauren, you're tough to track down." His charm was a relic, useless against me now. "You shouldn't be here," I said, staying seated. Security slipping. He shrugged, unfazed. "Your mom mentioned you had an office. Thought I'd swing by to congratulate you." I raised an eyebrow. "Like you congratulated me when you called my startup a hobby." His smile faltered, but I didn't let him recover. "Priya, escort Mr. Wallace out. Blacklist him." As security led him away, Priya slipped back in, her tablet in hand. "Your Uncle Ray's downstairs. Says it's urgent. He looks off." I frowned. Ray's usual bravado didn't mesh with urgent. "Send him up. But keep security close." Minutes later, Ray shuffled in, his flannel shirt out of place against the office's sleek decor. He clutched a manila envelope, his eyes weary, like a man carrying a decade's worth of regret. "Lauren, I owe you an apology," he said, voice low. "For what?" "Calling my work a bubble." I kept my tone light, but his expressions stopped me cold. "It's more than that." He sat, the envelope resting on his lap. "That Wired article got me thinking about things I should have told you years ago." His words were heavy, deliberate, and I leaned forward, sensing a shift. Ray wasn't one for sentiment, yet here he was, unraveling. The office's hum faded, the screen's glow dimming in my periphery. Whatever he was about to say, it wasn't just an apology, it was a reckoning, and I braced myself for what came next. Ray's hands trembled as he slid the manila envelope across my desk, its edges worn like it had been handled 1,000 times. "Open it," he said, his voice rough but steady. I pulled out a stack of photos and letters, some yellowed, dated back to the 90s. One photo stopped me cold. A younger Ray, grinning beside a woman with sharp eyes and a familiar jawline, holding a patent certificate. Her name was Ellen, Ray said, leaning back. "My business partner. We built an AI prototype crude, but ahead of its time. Your dad invested, then bailed when the dot-com bubble burst. We went under. I blamed him for years." I stared at the patent, a neural network design that echoed my own work in eerie ways. "Why tell me now?" My voice was tight, a mix of curiosity and dread. Ray's eyes met mine, heavy with something unspoken. "Because you're finishing what we started. And because Ellen was your real mother." The words hit like a physical blow, the air thinning in my lungs. "What?" I gripped the desk, the room tilting. "Your dad and mom adopted you after Ellen died," he said. "She was brilliant, Lauren, but troubled depression, bad decisions. When she passed, they took you in, swore it was for your own good. They thought telling you about her would make you like her. Reckless, driven." His voice cracked. I kept quiet, figured it wasn't my place. But seeing you now, building what she dreamed of, I couldn't stay silent. The photos blurred before me. Ellen at a workbench. Ellen with a newborn. Me? My whole life. They'd lied, framing my ambition as a flaw when it was her legacy. They hid this to control me. I asked, anger rising. Ray nodded. "They wanted you safe, stable. Thought Ellen's story would push you too far." Too far. I'd built a $3.8 billion company in spite of them. I shoved the photos back into the envelope, my mind racing. "Get out," I said, voice low. "I need to process this." Ray stood, hesitant. "I've got more of her work notebooks. Designs. They're yours if you want them." I didn't answer, and he left, the door clicking shut. The office's silence was deafening, the whiteboard's algorithms mocking me with their precision. Ellen's face lingered, her eyes my own, her dreams woven into mine without me knowing. I opened one of the letters, her handwriting sharp and urgent. The future's in the code. Ray, we're building it for her. Her. Me. My chest tightened. A mix of grief and fury. My family hadn't just underestimated me, they'd erased the woman who'd shaped me, all to keep me small. The truth was a wound, but it was also a key, unlocking why I'd always felt like an outsider in my own home. The board meeting at 2 p.m. was a haze, Ellen's revelation looping in my mind. I presented Project Cascade, our new AI model for global logistics, to a room of investors who'd once doubted me. Their nods and straightened postures meant little. The numbers' projected savings of $10 billion for clients spoke louder. Priya slipped me a note mid-presentation. Nate and Claire in the lobby, demanding a meeting. I kept talking, outlining Cascade's predictive accuracy, but sent a quick text to security. Small conference room. 5-minute wait. After the meeting, I found them in our smallest conference room. Its stiff chairs a subtle jab. Nate paced, his tie loosened, while Claire clutched her purse, her composure fraying. Lauren, what's with the silent treatment? Nate snapped, stopping mid-step. We're your family. I tossed Ray's envelope onto the table, the photos spilling out. Explain this. Nate's face drained of color, and Claire's gasp filled the silence. Is that? She started, pointing to Ellen's picture. Ellen, my biological mother, I said, voice like steel. You knew. Nate sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. Mom told me when I was a kid. They swore it'd hurt you, make you obsessive like her. Hurt me. I paced, fury boiling. You hid my mother to keep me in line, then mocked my dreams because they reminded you of her. Claire's hand hovered, hesitant. We didn't know how to tell you. You didn't try. I shot back. You were too busy playing perfect to see who I was. I opened my tablet, pulling up Nate's latest pitch deck riddled with errors and worse. Speaking of seeing, your startup's been leaking Horizon's tech to competitors. Carter Ventures rejected your pitch not just for bad math, but for betrayal. Nate's eyes widened. How did you? I know my industry. Nate, including your side deals with my rivals. Claire's voice shook. Lauren, we're sorry. Can't we fix this? I paused. The envelope's weight grounding me. Fix it. Start by owning your mess. You judged me, lied to me, and now you want to reset because I'm successful. Nate's shoulders slumped. We didn't know what you were building, because you didn't ask, I said, echoing the dinner. You saw a failure, not a founder. The room felt claustrophobic, their guilt a tangible force. I closed the tablet. I'm not shutting you out, but trust is earned. You've got work to do. Nate nodded, defeated, and Claire's eyes glistened. But I felt no pity. Ellen's shadow loomed, her truth a reminder of what I'd overcome. Security will show you out, I said. Turning away, the door clicked shut, leaving me with the photos and a resolve sharper than ever. I'd build on Ellen's dreams, not their lies. 2 weeks later, I sat in my office, reviewing Cascade's beta tests 99% accuracy in predicting supply chain disruptions. The screens glowed with praise. Horizon's Lauren Carter reshapes global trade. But Ellen's journal, now on my desk, held my focus. Its sketches of early AI hauntingly familiar. Priya buzzed the intercom. Your dad's here. No Lexus. Just jeans and a flannel. Been waiting 2 hours. I checked the lobby feed. Dad sat, small and unassuming, clutching a wooden box, his CEO swagger gone. Send him up, I said, steadying myself. He entered slowly, his eyes tracing the whiteboard's algorithms. The Willamette River view. Your mom's been baking your favorite oatmeal cookies, hoping you'll come home. His voice was soft, almost fragile. I gestured to a chair, cutting to the core. Why didn't you tell me about Ellen? He flinched. Setting the box down, we thought we were protecting you. Ellen was a genius, but unstable depression, debts. When she died, we vowed to give you a steady life. By lying, my voice was sharp. By dismissing my work because it echoed hers. He opened the box, revealing Ellen's journal. Its pages filled with AI designs and notes about a daughter me. She'd be proud, he said. I should have been. 2. I missed your science fairs. Your coding camps. So focused on success, I didn't see yours. His regret was raw, unguarded. I flipped through the journal, anger softening against my will. Horizon predicts supply failures with 99.9% accuracy. We're saving lives, hospitals. Disaster relief. Want to see? His eyes sparked. The dad who'd taught me to ride a bike resurfacing. Show me. For an hour, I walked him through our models. His questions sharp, grounded in research. He leaned forward, engrossed. As I explained how we'd modeled a hurricane's impact on medical supplies, then he shifted, voice low. My lumber company's dying. Old models don't work anymore. I nodded. Your stock's down 35% this year. He laughed. A tired sound. Of course you know. I'm not here for a bailout, just a chance to learn from you. I stood, looking out at Portland's skyline, where Horizons Tech was reshaping lives. Let's have a family dinner here. I'll show you what I do. No secrets. Just truth. But Nate and Claire are on thin ice. He nodded, eyes misty. They'd like that. I'd like that. I turned back. One condition. I bought your company's debt last month. Not to control you, but to give you room to pivot. Family's messy, but I won't let it sink. His smile was faint but real. Thursday at 6. Tell Mom to bring the cookies, I said. A small bridge across years of distance. The Portland skyline glittered through my office window, a testament to Horizon's quiet reach. Our tech now guided everything from hospital supplies to disaster relief. Ellen's journal sat open on my desk, a sketch of a neural network mirroring my own designs. A link to a mother I'd never known. Priya stepped in, tablet in hand. Your mom's called twice about Thursday's dinner. Says she's baking enough cookies to feed an army. I smiled, picturing Mom's frantic kitchen. Clear my Thursday evening. Priya, it's time to show them what I've built. The Wired headline on my screen read, Lauren Carter, the CEO, redefining family and innovation. I hung Ellen's journal page beside it, a quiet tribute to the woman who'd shaped me. Even in absence, the dinner would be a reset. No more assumptions, just reality. Nate and Claire would need to prove themselves. Their betrayal still stung, but I wasn't cruel enough to cut them off entirely. Family was complicated, a tangle of love and lies. But I had the power to set boundaries now. Dad's visit had shifted something. His humility, his willingness to learn, echoed the man who'd once cheered my first clumsy bike ride. I'd show them Horizon's heart, our data centers, our predictive models. The lives we'd saved. Mom would see the daughter she'd underestimated. Dad would see the legacy he'd missed. Even Ray, with his gruff regret, might find peace knowing Ellen's dreams lived on. I opened my laptop, pulling up Cascade's latest results. 99.9% accuracy in forecasting a port strike's impact, saving clients $200 million. The numbers were my language, my proof. But Thursday wasn't about numbers. It was about showing them who I was, not the failure they'd mourned. But but the woman who'd built an empire in spite of them. Ellen's note spoke of a daughter who'd changed the world. I'd done that, and now I'd teach my family to see it. Priya returned. Holding a package, Ray dropped this off. Ellen's old notebooks. I took them, their weight grounding me. Donate Nate's LinkedIn post to the PR archives. I said, let him learn humility the hard way. She nodded, then added, your dad asked if he could bring a guest Thursday. No, Claire. Just an old friend from Ellen's team. Says he wants to share stories. I paused, intrigued, approved, but no surprises. As Priya left, I looked out at the city, its lights pulsing like code. Thursday would be a beginning, not an end. I'd already proven myself to the world, to Wired, to the markets. Now, it was their turn to listen, to see the future I'd built from a small-town girl's dreams and a mother's forgotten vision. The hardest part wasn't the empire. It was teaching them to see me as I was, not who they'd wanted me to be. I closed the journal, ready for whatever came next.